As we inch towards 500 subscribers, I wanted to do something special because I am delighted that there's this community forming around our collective love of cello and music. To celebrate, I'm going to do my first ever product review and also a giveaway at the end, so stay tuned. Now, I wanted to see if I could find some good musical equipment on the cheap, so I of course turned to Wish.com, everyone's favorite outlet for inexpensive and usually not particularly well-produced goods. And what did I find? Well, a bow for under 50 bucks. Including tax and shipping, and after a promo code because I'm always on the lookout for a good deal, it totaled just $42.67 US. The price of the bow itself was just $30.77, which is surprisingly cheap. So in this video, we're going to review it and compare it to the two bows that I keep in my case. And this will be a win-win scenario, because either it's worth the money and it could be a wise purchase, or it's not and it's unbelievably entertaining. And regardless of the outcome, one lucky person will win this bow in the giveaway at the end of the video. So let's dig in. But first, a little context, because I wasn't originally trying to buy a bow. I was trying to buy this $80 cello because I figured that would really be a wild ride. The listing was riddled with red flags, like the seller with a 5-star rating despite not having any reviews, the fact that they talked about the material for the chin rest, and the lack of clarity about what color my cello would even be. I was kind of hoping it would be one of those super artificial looking colors just as a change of pace. But getting my Wish.com cello seems like it was just not meant to be. They shipped it pretty quickly and I was so excited. And shortly thereafter it was delivered. The FedEx site had a picture of the delivery location and it was not my place. I called FedEx and found out that the seller shipped it to an incomprehensibly wrong address. Still in my city, but in a very different zip code and with an address that doesn't even remotely resemble mine. After some back and forth with perhaps the most atrocious customer service department I've ever encountered, they refunded my money. Which is great, but I wanted the cello. After my refund processed, I ordered it again, hoping they'd send it again. But I got an email that they had trouble fulfilling my order and just refunded my money. It looks like they might have gotten their stock numbers wrong because when I looked it up again, the listing was gone. So no cello. I was bummed out because I was so excited to try it out. But then I realized, I can still get a bow, it'll be less expensive, and it'll still give me an opportunity to test it out against the equipment that I use and see how it compares. Plus, now some random person in Jacksonville presumably just got a free cello, and perhaps they'll hire me to give them some lessons. There's some other instruments for sale on Wish.com that I could have purchased, but they're orders of magnitude more expensive. However, I am thinking of dropping a couple $100 on a more expensive Wish.com cello to review for you all once I hit some other big subscriber milestone, in appreciation for everybody coming along with me on this journey. So if you're not subscribed already, please do, so that you can help make cello review time come sooner, and so that you won't miss it when it does. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now, I tempered my expectations. I don't anticipate having anything great with something so cheap. But online, it looks not too bad. I know there's only so much that one can tell from looking at pictures, but it seems like there's a real chance it could be a solid product. I'm a little concerned about this screw, which seems a tad askew, but I want to hear from you, so maybe I learn something new. Okay, that's the end of my poetry slam. Looking at the product page, the price went up sometime after I ordered it, so I don't know what price you'll find if you look it up. I see the bow got a 4-star review from Melanie in Switzerland, which is nice to see, though I don't know if that review is legit or not. It's a carbon fiber bow, which is a pretty common material. And it says the frog is made of ebony, but that's a pretty expensive wood, so I definitely cast some doubt on that. I'm interested in it though regardless of what wood the frog is made of, and I don't even know how to go about testing what it is anyway, so I'm just gonna ignore that for now. I went ahead and ordered it, hoping that they would ship it early and it would be in the package room waiting for me when I got back from my spring break. It took a little bit longer, 18 days, but it did arrive in my apartment complex. I went down and grabbed it from the package room, and let's take a look at the unboxing. Now this super long package is of course what contains the bow, but there were a couple of other packages waiting for me too. One of them I was expecting, and one I wasn't. And that was this tiny little box here. I could not resist opening it up in the elevator, and I found out that it has what looks to be bow hair in it. I started to panic a little bit. What if I have to put on the hair myself? I don't know how to do that. So we better open up the main box and see if there's any hair on this bow. I had to really wrestle with this box for a while to actually get the thing open, but some nice snug packaging slid out once I did. I breathed a bit of a sigh of relief as soon as I actually got this out of the package, because as you can see, it's got hair. Plus, the screw on this seems fine, so that allayed my concerns that I had when I was looking at the listing. Maybe it was just an angle thing. Seriously though, this thing looks pretty nice. It's got a good weight to it, and even though there's a little unevenness where the metal meets the hair, it's not a big deal to me. Or at least, that's what I felt when I was unboxing it. That's gonna change later. For now though, I'm impressed so far, given the price point especially. After I tightened up the hair a bit, I noticed one thing, which is that it feels very tip-heavy. I wanted to make sure I wasn't just imagining things, so I went to grab my main bow, which confirmed my suspicions, because the latter is very well balanced and lighter overall. We'll figure out how that affects things once we get to playing with it, which we'll do very shortly. First though, let's get a little bit scientific and set some parameters for the comparison between bows, namely what criteria I'm gonna use. We'll start off with balance. You want your bow to feel good regardless of where you are in it. Like you can play comfortably at the frog and at the tip. I don't know any bows where playing at the tip is truly as comfortable as the frog, but of course, you don't want the difference to be night and day. So we're gonna grade that on a curve. Then, fortitude. Can the bow take anything I throw at it? I want to know if I can use this thing to play a concerto if I need to, or if it's just suitable for things where I don't need as much sonic power. After that, we'll look at spiccato. This is a good litmus test for the bow. We'll find the balance point of each and try it out to see if we can get a clean, reliable, and crispy stroke with good bounce. Next, consistency. Does the bow make it easy to produce a consistent sound throughout? We also want to check color. Not the literal color of the wood or hair, but how well we can get great musical colors, especially when things are soft. Once I've done that, if things are looking pretty good, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is and take this bow to work and play a concert with it. After that, the plan is to give it an overall rating, and then I'll tell you if I think it's worth the money. Of course, for one of you, it won't have to be worth the money because you'll win it for free in the giveaway at the end. So let's first take a look at the two bows that I'll use to compare. The one you see here is my main bow, which I absolutely adore. I'm guessing it'll get 5 stars almost across the board because I'm super used to it and it seems to never have much of a problem giving me what I want. I've been fighting with it a little bit more lately because it's in very desperate need of a rehair, but overall, I love this bow. The second one is my backup bow, which is a cheap-ish one by professional bow standards, but it did cost me quite a bit more when I bought it than this Wish.com one. It's a pretty decent bow, and it's good to have in case I'm doing an outdoor concert, or if I need to do colegno, or if my main bow is in getting rehaired, or whatever. Now let's go see if this new bow comes with any rosin on it.
Nope.
Alright, this is gonna take a while. And will you look at that, it's already starting to lose its hair, just like its owner. First impressions at the cello are pretty good. Still needs a little bit more rosining. Let me do that, and then we'll try again. This is doing a respectable job, I gotta say. This is a good start. That was fun, but it's time to start the experiment. We begin with testing the balance, and we'll start with the new bow. It's doing great in the lower half so far. Let's see how closely we can match it out by the tip. I'm not gonna lie and say that it feels amazing, but more or less I'm able to get what I need. With the grading curve, I'm going to award this 4 cellos. Let's try the mid-tier bow now, using the same piece to help keep things fair. This was a similar feeling to the Wish.com bow, so I'm going to give it, once again, 4 cellos. And now for my main bow. Oh, that is a night and day difference, and that is a 5 on our curve. Not even close. So, my main bow did win, yes, but the other two did put up a good fight. We're going to shake things up a little bit and start the Fortitude test with my main bow. I think you might recognize the piece. This bow is just knocking it out of the park for this test. Basically, no matter how much I give it, it gives it back to me. Easy 5 cello rating. Alright, next up to bat, or I guess maybe up to bow, is the mid-tier one. Let's try this again. This one's not doing amazingly. It's okay, but it's not happy about the weight that I'm giving it, and it's telling me that pretty clearly. If I have a choice, I'm not going to pick this one for a concerto, even though it has way more hair than my main bow does right now. 3 cellos. Alright, let's try out the wishbow and see just how much cello concerto power this fella can get for $30.77. Better than I expected by quite a bit. I think it gets 4 cellos, and it's now outperforming my mid-tier bow in this contest. Alright, time for the spiccato test. We're going to find the balance point here of my main bow, and then we're going to get started. This one did great, as I expected. It made it really easy for me to make almost every note into a separate crispy boy. I can't in good conscience give 5 cellos to my intonation here, but I will to the bow. Alright, back to the mid-tier bow. Finding the balance point. There we go. This one was interesting. I think it did pretty well on the articulations themselves, but the whole thing just sounds a bit chunkier than I'd like, and I wasn't really getting too much follow-through in actual tone. While I enjoy the bite on the beginnings of the notes, I don't think I get enough else from the bow for me to think it's a really great spiccato bow. How about 3.5? Alright, I'm wishing for good results on this one. Oh, I'm pretty ashamed of that. I'm sorry. This is not a great spiccato bow. I was able to get some decent tone out of these notes, but I didn't get much bounce and I didn't get much articulation. Some of that could be a me problem, but I was able to get what I needed from my main bow. 2.5 cellos. This next thing we're testing is not exactly riveting. We're just looking at how consistent can we make a note throughout the bow, including bow changes. What's on screen right now is the Wish.com bow. Not amazing for this, but also not terrible. I suspect that some of the weak points that I'm hearing are because the hair is quite new and not broken in yet. Plus, I think the hair probably isn't of the best quality anyway. Oh, and it's falling out again. But, I mean, like, same. But getting a rehair is probably going to cost you way more than just buying the bow. It's like how you can get a cheap printer, but then you have to sell 3 of your kidneys just to replenish the ink. It's a weird financial paradigm. This could be worse, though. 3.5 cellos should be a fair rating. Alright, mid-tier bow coming up. The hair on that one is probably not as broken in as the hair on my main bow, but it really, in all fairness, should be ready to go by now. I'm grading this on a bit of a curve too, because I'm pretty sure that a literal 100% seamless bow change is not physically possible. It's going to at least be a little bit noticed. But this is doing pretty well. I'll give it 4 cellos. Alright, my main bow, how's it gonna do? It's doing great, it feels beautifully balanced, and not to sound like a broken record, but it gets 5 cellos. Thanks for bearing with me as we breezed through the slightly boring part. As a reward for your patience and tenacity, let's take a look at an otherworldly passage in Brahms to see how these bows do when changing colors. Alright, my main bow, first color change coming up. Made it pretty easy to do a subtle, tasteful change. Now for the big one. Nearly effortless. 5 out of 5. So can I achieve that same kind of coloring with that same kind of ease with my mid-tier bow? Let's find out. It still did it pretty decently, but it seemed a little bit more hesitant to give me what I wanted. So maybe 4 out of 5 for this one. Okay, just one more bowing before we're going. Wish.com, baby. This was kind of an interesting one, because even though I was able to do these color changes relatively easily and make these contrasts without too much trouble, the actual changes in color themselves felt kind of superficial. If I had felt like this bow were willing to give me more depth of color, then I think it would have beaten out my mid-tier bow, but regrettably I do have to give it a 3.5 cello rating. So by this time in my filming process, I had really gotten to know the bow pretty well, I think, and I was feeling quite confident with it. So confident that I decided I was going to do what I said at the beginning of the video, and I took it to work with me. I played a full orchestra concert on it, and it did great. So what's the verdict and where do I stand? Well, I was ready to say that if they replicate this quality throughout the bows that they produce, it would be an unbelievable value and I'd be pretty prepared to recommend it. But then I noticed something a bit sus. After playing with this bow in a concert, I had it on my stand back in my apartment, and I looked over at it. Now, you remember this little anomaly that I mentioned where the hair meets the metal? Well, it got way worse, and this means that I could no longer trust this bow for a performance-critical situation, because for all I know, this could keep getting worse, and it could basically self-destruct in a concert. I'm not willing to risk it again, now that I know that that's possible. That being said, though, this handles more or less like a professional cello bow. So if you're just starting out with cello and you don't like your bow, getting this model for practice could actually be a worthwhile investment to get you used to the kind of thing you can come to expect if and when you upgrade in the future. I just wouldn't risk performing with it. All in all, though, it is better than I anticipated for the low price I paid. I'd love to actually keep it around, but it's time to give it to one of you. So here's how this is going to work. You're going to leave any comment you like with the word pineapple in it. That's the password for this contest. 3 weeks after I release this video, I will pick a random comment from a publicly subscribed commenter based upon the rules that I lay out in the description. I will note here, though, that to win, you have to be in the lower 48 states of the United States, and you must be of the age of majority in your jurisdiction. And the winner who meets all those criteria will be given the bow. I'm taking care of all of the shipping charges, so if anybody approaches you pretending to be me and saying that you need to pay the shipping, that is a scam. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, how did the ratings shake out? Well, my main bow gets a 5 cello rating. I figured it would going into this. My mid-tier bow, well, it isn't perfect, but it definitely provides a lot of benefits to me, and I'm very glad to have it around. 4 cello rating there. Now, until this issue came up with the bow that I mentioned before, I was pretty prepared to give the Wish.com bow a 4 cello rating, along with a 5 cello value for money rating. But I have to bump both of those down because I don't ever recommend trusting this bow in a performance. just for practice. Perhaps a student in my cough cough adult beginner cello course, available at the address on screen, might find this useful during their learning journey. The Wish.combo gets 3 overall and 4 for value for your money. So get those comments going. Even if you're not eligible for the contest, I would love to hear your thoughts. And if you've ever found some super cheap musical gear that's worked out well for you, let me know. If you've enjoyed this video, I would be honored if you would leave a like and a sub. And if you're still hungry for some more cello and music-related content, I've got videos for you to check out right here, and I would love for you to join me. Thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you next time.